see. We are going live, and here we are. Happy Friday, Sue. Welcome to another installment of Get a Clue in 52 Speaker Edition. There's us. There's the cartoon versions of us on the cover. Isn't that funny? Every now and then I look at that and I'm like, wow, okay. So how are you? What's happening in
Pretty
our
good.
Yeah, we're out of 52. We're gonna read number 38 today. So we have some a little bit of summary. It's a brief tip. So we've got time to ask, how are you? How's everything going for you? How was your week?
I'm doing well, and I was really chuffed this week to get a commendation award for a black and white photography that I did, and the
Wow.
sense of it was cool. The sense of having started to really put more work into something and practice it, and then take the time to put an entry into the competition and come out with an award was that feeling was fabulous, really good.
Yeah, yeah. And like I don't know how to explain it, but like recognition, it's recognition is funny, right? Some people don't want any attention, but it's hard to deny the attention that comes from hard work that you've put in and intention and
Yeah.
being vulnerable and so forth. That's wonderful, Sue. Congrats on that.
Yeah,
Uh,
thank you.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah,
What
yeah.
about your week? How are you going?
Well, funny you should ask. I think we were talking a little bit about it before we went live, but I attended and survived 2 more weeks of my life. And my wife was out of town this week, not as long of a trip as the week before or when she was like in China earlier in the summer, but 2 weeks in a row, my wife was in Brazil one week and then New Jersey this week, and it just happened to be while I was supporting coach for a 3-day online event where I got to deliver the integrity game on day 2. And then earlier this week it seems like a week ago, but it's just 3 days ago, I delivered the integrity game keynote to the site managers and head coaches regionally for Orange Theory Fitness and the strong organization Aspire that works in tandem with Orange Theory to make sure their locations are staffed and managed well. And some networking is thrown in there and some grading papers and some evaluating speeches. And there's been, and we did an all-star session for the Integrity Game 90-Day Challenge on Wednesday.
Yes.
Sloan was amazing. I hope you get a chance to go back and watch the recording of that.
I'm looking forward to the recording.
She was magical. And we're starting to get, some other all-stars are popping in, like Ellie and also Jennifer Horspool came on board, and so it's a fantastic conversation. We even got into like human design. I'm not an expert in that, but human design came up in fascinating conversation, and I'm just really happy with a lot of things, and there's a lot to be excited about. I feel like I'm on the verge of breaking through a couple of things that are nice, but also there's some maintenance going on, and it's always fun coming out of summer. Labor Day is over. It's time to go. We've got, summer is over, but the rest of our year has just begun. And I'm feeling 100% of that. So thanks for asking. So here we are in Get a Clue in 52. We, by now, everybody knows the Get a Clue in 52 books. There's always 5 categories that the 52 tips are divided amongst. And we find somewhere to put the extra 2 tips. And this year, as in last year, they're at the end in section 5. But let me just do a quick reset for us. We started with section 1, playing the integrity game. By now, everybody knows I'm author and founder of the integrity game, and it's a 10-point model. And we took the 10 points on that model and put them into the very first section of this book to get that foundation and that structural integrity that we want to build our speaking intentions, whether it's advancing our career through public speaking or building a public speaking practice, a practice as a speaker. We want a foundation and structural integrity around building whatever it is we're building through public speaking. And then we can bring out our brand. So the second 10 tips that we had in our book here is all about promises to the marketplace, competitive advantages, differentiation, getting rid of jargon, replacing with slogan, not being so humble that we humiliate ourselves because of our humility, and other tips around bringing out our brand and making sure people can recognize us from others and why us instead of others. And there's so many people in the world and so many opportunities in the world, but how do we stand out? And how do we stand out in a way that makes people want to associate with us, hire us, raise us, promote us, attend our events, check out our live streams, whatever it is? Then we got into the real tactical approach to preparing speeches. And so the third section was the real epicenter of the third section was tips 23 through 30, right? Which were the 8 steps to fearless public speaking. It's a proven process to prepare. And we started with 2 mindset tips, and then we got into it. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, to round out the section of how we prepare. One of those tips, as I mentioned, in most weeks, tip number 27 is the 5th step in the 8-step process. It ended up being 27 in our journey here. And I get confused myself with the numbers, but hopefully the smarter people than me are following along. Tip number 27 was step number 5 in the 8-step process, 8 steps to fearless public speaking. And we talked about it in tip 27 from a strategic perspective. It's strategic to outline our ideas, our thoughts, ideas, our feelings into a subordinated form. That was the strategic part. But here we are now in section 4, where the entire section is dedicated to the tactical part. What are the elements of an outline? What forms might those elements take? And how do those elements function regarding our overall purpose or overall objectives in terms of connecting with our audience and ushering them through the event of us delivering content? So I always say that we never want to speak at or to, right, our audience. We want to connect with them and bring them with us through the content. It's a subtle shift, but it's really critical. So in quickly, and then of course we're going to end section 5 is 12 tips on practice building, and that's going to be a lot of fun, of course. But as we get ourselves up to tip number 38, we want to remind everybody that we started with tip number 31, which was a mindset piece. And we want to anticipate the questions in the minds of the audience that we know they're going to be asking, right? And they don't even conscious that they're asking them, but we know, because we know about human communication, that the audience is going to be asking certain questions. Should I pay attention? What's this about? Why should I care? Why should I listen to you? Where are we going with all of this? And we want to answer those questions before they come up with those questions in their head. We also want to make use of effective, and so like here they are, grab attention, tell us what it's about. Why should we listen? Why should we listen to you? And then preview. Hey, where are we going with all of this? One of my favorite tips is last week's, really, is to never underestimate an effective transition. Never underestimate effective transitions, because it's the thing that, and by the way, by effective, I mean 2-part, being thorough. We want to tell our audience that we're done with this part of our speech or our talk, and let them know that we're heading into. One of the mistakes my students make all the time is they only do one of those, right? They say, so let's move on. So moving on, and the brain of the audience hasn't got its own closure on where we were. And it's kind of abrupt. And I always teach my students to be deliberate, somehow, some way. Be deliberate. Now that I've reviewed tips 31 through 37, let's go ahead and get in to tip number 38. Do you understand how I'm demonstrating that? And it slows down. It gives me as the speaker a chance to slow down, but it really readies my audience. It lets them mentally close out whatever they were processing on what we were talking about. It creates a permission structure in their brain to say, okay, I don't have to think about that or process that or listen for note taking around that anymore. I can now get my head ready for where we're headed. And it's a subtle thing, and it's underestimated. And it's one of the things that I really want to, burn into the brains of my students, of course, but I want all of us to understand that if we can effectively help people with the transitions, if we can make use of effective transitions, there are 2 purposes for effective transitions: closure and preview. So we want to verbalize both the closure and the preview, right? And that gets us to where we are now. So when we look at the structure of a speech, there's 4 major transitions that we want. When we talk about the basics and the fundamentals, right? We want to transition from our introduction into our body. That's one. I want to transition from my first main point to my second main point, from my second main point to my third main point, and from my body into my conclusion. Now, we can have minor transitions as well in between subpoints, right? Without taking time to get too much into that, that's a review of last week's tip. Where we're at now is, where were we, right? So when we do transition into conclusion, when we've trained, hey, there's more about my talk. There's more that I could say about the integrity game, or there's more that I could say about effective meetings for task-oriented groups, or there's more that I could say about the strategies, tactics, and resources for delivering hardcore accountability on a plate of I love you, or there's a lot more I could say about, but it's time for me to wrap this up.
Yeah.
Right? So now we've got 3 more elements to discuss in section 4. And now we're in our conclusion. And that's where we are now. So it's funny. It's like, where were we? Right? So the tip is to answer that question. Very said another way, we want to restate our main points. We want to let the audience know what we just got done covering. That's the very first thing we want to do in a conclusion. So before I get into reading word for word, do you have anything to add to that summary or that setup for our tip reading today? It's not going to take that long for us to get through this. This is probably one of the more brief tips in the whole book. But do you have anything to add or comment on or ask before we get into reading word for word?
Not at the moment.
Okay. All right, let's get the reading the word for word out of the way. Here we go. All right. So if you're following along at home, it's page 157. This is tip number 38 overall. And here we go. Element number 7, restate main points. The first item to include in your all-important conclusion is easy. Simply restate your main points. But before you do that, there's something else you must do. First things first. Do not begin your conclusion without transitioning into it. As I've explained earlier, be sure to let your audience know that you are done with the last main point / body of your speech and are moving into the conclusion. It is as simple as it is critical. Once you are in your conclusion, the first thing I recommend you do is to restate your main points. This is the minimum you need to do in order to, quote, tell them what you told them. So, all right. And by the way, let me pause the reading right there. Keeping public speaking simple. Tell them what you're going to tell them. Intro. Tell them. Body. Tell them what you told them. Conclusion. So that's where we are. You are here. Where were we? You are here in the conclusion. All right. So be sure to remember you are in your conclusion. Be sure to remember you're in your conclusion. So you need only state what the main points were that you covered. Do not elaborate, explain, or further repeat examples you've already covered in the body of your speech. In the sample outline at the end of this section, so I may screen share and bring that up, right? In the sample outline at the end of this section, you see it done as simply as it can be done. But with more experience, you'll be able to be more creative in the restating of your points. The simplest way to look at this element is that it is the exact same thing as when you signposted your main points in the introduction, except for switching the tense from future to past. Instead of saying, first I will cover, you will say, first I covered.
Yeah.
Like that's how simple this is. Restating your main points is really that simple, but don't skip this very critical element in orienting / navigating your audience's listening. After you have restated the main points, you could end the speech right there, but I recommend adding 2 more elements in your conclusion. They are the last 2 tips in this section, which we'll get to on the 27th and first week of October. Sue?
Yeah, there's a saying that you often refer to, Jeff, that there is freedom within the framework. And by following the structure you've outlined throughout these tips, we as speakers are able to provide an amazing experience for our audiences by being structured and organized, but also bringing out our own creativity to each of these elements. I'm looking forward to the next 2 tips to help close this out.
Yeah, wonderful, Sue. And by the way, I'm Jeff Klubeck, founder, author of The Integrity Game, and Sue Mathieson is certified. Well, first of all, she's the CEO saver. She saves CEOs from all kinds of crap. The stuff rolling uphill, downhill, sideways, diagonal. That's for sure. And we're in welcoming everybody to get a Klu in 52 for speakers. Now, a couple of things here just to create some conversation. I marvel and I wonder, I just caught myself, right? But like, I didn't even get into the word for word. And here I was just talking off the top of my head conversationally about the tips. And did you notice like how much of what I was saying, like impromptu or ad hoc or organically, like was actually in the tip?
Oh,
right?
Absolutely.
Like this is just burned into my brain, right?
But
like,
not just today. You do that all the time.
yeah. And it's like funny, it's just like you walk, you hear people say walk the talk the walk, but I've really, this is a part of me. All of this content is a part of me. And it's like you hear the saying about the frog. I don't like the metaphor because I'm a nonviolent guy, but you hear about the frog. If you put a frog in a boiling water, it'll jump out right away. But if you put a frog in room temperature water and turn up the heat, because it's a gradual increase, the frog won't notice. And I guess, Sue, I just don't notice how long I've been doing this, or how much I know this, or how well I know this, or how much this is a part of my life. Like understanding. Tell them what you're going to tell them. Tell them what you told them. 8 steps to fearless public speaking, the elements, the forms, the functions, all the things that really go into making a connection with audience. And it was interesting. Earlier today, a client of mine was holding a little event, and she had 2 guest speakers to come in, and one was to provide, it's like how to avoid stress in an election year. And she's a financial advisor, high-level financial advisor, mostly focusing on women and divorced women and so forth. She can help anybody, but she's on a mission from her heart. And so she brought in, I think JP Morgan Chase person to tell us about markets and what happens when the red wins, what happens when the blue wins. Guess what? It's kind of all the same. Like the market traditionally goes up. Anyway, the bottom line of her presentation was, it doesn't matter who gets into office, just invest in the stock market. That's kind of like the bottom line is it's not the timing of the market, it's the time in the market, right? And that's my phraseology in myself. And then the other person was a motivational speaker, right? Somebody that was supposed to be motivational and try to help with de-stressing, right? And here I am there to support my client, and it's like the first experience today is like, oh my God, I can't believe how much I know about public speaking, because I wasn't there to be critical of anybody, but I'm watching these presentations and and I have a lot of feedback, but it's like, wait a second. These aren't students in the class learning how to speak, and the speakers that she had up aren't my clients. And, and so like, I'm there to support my client and communicate with my client about what my client did really well and needs to keep doing, and what my client can improve upon. And so it went really well. And my client, what I want you to understand is my client, this goes back to the integrity game more so than public speaking. Right. But my client, she's really, really, really brilliant, really, really smart, understands every detail. And so I saw that there was a couple of things that weren't necessarily going the way she had planned.
Okay.
And I could tell, right? I'm an empath, right? And so when we sat down, she's like, hey, let's debrief real quick. I said, okay, what was the purpose of the event? She's like, well, to be in front of my clients and to keep that connection with my clients, and to maybe have my clients bring guests and introduce me to a new person or two. But I want my clients to de-stress. I don't want my clients to freak out in election year. I want to be visible in front of my clients. I want them to have a great experience. I want them to associate great and valuable experience with me. I'm like, okay, there's no reason to freak out on these little minor things over here. She's like, oh my God, you're right. I'm like, because you achieved all of that. So don't draw attention. Anyway, I'm trying to tie it into this. I don't know. I'm struck by, here I am talking with you, Sue, like before I get into the tip read, and as I review the tips, and I can't stop myself, from just talking. And then I realize like, oh, I should have just read the tip. Like, there it is. And it's just, the road to mastery is paved with fundamentals. And really, so many of these tips, they're really fundamental. But the mastery comes from practicing the fundamentals over and over and over and over and over again, where it becomes second nature. I don't have to, research. Let me look this up, or let me research it, or what was that? It's just, I've been doing this so long, so much, right? And anyway, I don't know where I'm going with that, other than, Jeff, you do it every week.
Well, yeah, you do. But I think to me, what that shows me as someone who is following along the path behind you and learning from you, enjoying your mentoring, is that it takes work, for one.
Yeah.
It's consistency. But how much fun are you having now that it just comes out of you? You don't have to think about it. And that's certainly something I'm starting to notice. My approach is things I'll say flow. And I've had a few instances over the last 6 months, I suppose, where I might have been talking about something and in conversation either mention the book specifically or talk more broadly about some of the work that we've been doing together, all-star sessions, that sort of thing. And the person that I'm chatting with will go, oh, I can see that in what you're doing here. And so it affirms for me what you're talking about is continuing, doing those fundamentals, keep practicing, keep working through it, because it does start to show up through who you are. And you get to enjoy the fruit of that work.
The effortlessness of it, right? And then, yeah, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. I just, I don't know if it's, I have a really good memory for when it was all brand new. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I have a really good memory from when I didn't feel so sure. I have a really good memory from where I had to look it up. I have a really good memory for where I got a C- when I took public speaking when I was a college kid, distracted by everything under the sun. You know what I'm saying? And it's just one degree, back to the frog, right? 1 degree at a time, 1 day at a time, 1 year at a time. Oh my God, wait a second. I'm 52 years old now. And I've been doing this stuff for a long time. I've helped thousands of people find their voice and their confidence and their ability to prepare for public speaking opportunities. I've been in front of, thousands of people myself. And it's just interesting because I remember being awkward, being novice, being unsure. It's surprising to see how effortless it becomes. But after yeah, I wish public speaking was as easy as. Anyway, no, I was going to make a marriage joke there. Like, hey, I've been working on my marriage. Well, we celebrated our 23 wedding and our 23 years, and 23 years, that was Sunday, our 23 years together, right? On September 15th. And we got married 4 days after the attacks, right? And we got married 4 days after 9/11, like the real 9/11.
Wow. Yeah.
And that was after a year engagement, and that was after 15 months apart, and that was after 7 years of dating. And we started when I was 19 and she was 18. So 23 years of marriage, but we're talking about, 32 years of
being together,
being absolutely in love with this woman, right? And loving her is really, really, really easy part. That gets easier and easier. But keeping a marriage together and that's hard work. But Marianne and I were even getting better at that. So props to Marianne. Behind every good man is a surprised woman. And so I promised that I would screen share a little bit to get back into the content of the tip. I just want to make sure I reference this. So just let me show
sample outline.
Like where were we is where we were, right? In other words, so we're in the review, but I want to get to the sample outline because I think it's valuable. So this shows just a skeleton, what I call a skeleton outline. And so I recommend to people, don't write your outline like you would write an essay. Don't write in prose or paragraph form. Keep it simple. Break it down into have one sentence per subordinating point. So we know that A through E are subordinate to Roman numeral 1, right? And we know that 1, 2, and 3 are subordinate to A through E. And so we want to space out and indent each level of subordination so we understand visually what's the level of importance of our content, etc. And this is part of when we break things out this way, it helps us not memorize word for word, but see our speech in our heads, right? And then it allows us actually to be more conversational. And what we can see is these transitions that I talked about. I want to get out of my intro. Hey, I'm done talking about that intro, and we're going to head into the first main point. And I also want to transition from my first main point to the second, from the second to the third, and from my body into my conclusion. And so we preview, these are the 2 tips that we're going to cover in the next 2 weeks that we're looking forward to. But today, very simply, hey, tell them what you told them, right? And so first we talked about the importance of investing in our gifts. Then we talked about what prevents people from investing in their gifts and optimizing their gifts and sharing their gifts with the world. And then finally, we talked about solutions, easy things that each and every one of us can do to break down the barriers between us and our optimal gifts, right? And so then we could just stop there, but there's two other things that we want to do that we'll discuss next week, right? But this is what we're talking about. Tell them what you told them. And just as a review, when we talk about elements, here we go. That's the first element, second element, third element, fourth element, fifth element, 5 elements of our intro. The sixth element is effective transition sentences. So when I was reading word for word and I said the seventh element, not to confuse anybody, it's right here, right? The seventh element is the restating of our main points, and then 8 and 9. So we're talking about 9 elements with their forms and their functions. That's why we had tip number 31 was a mindset tip. And then the other 9 elements make up tips 32 through 40. And then, of course, the forms that these elements can take and how they function is part of our dialoguing each week. And Sue, you've been great at saying, Jeff, what's an example? How would you do that? Or how do you avoid sounding repetitive or redundant or elementary or formulaic? And my students ask me that all the time. And there's all kinds of ways we can deliver these elements. There's all kinds of forms these elements can take, but the functionality is to keep ourselves on track, to stay connected with our audience, to make sure our audience never feels lost and they never have to ask unnecessary questions in their minds. And so what if we master the structure, the anatomy, the wireframe, the infrastructure of a talk, then, most people, when they're getting ready to build a speech, they're worried about all of this stuff. I purposely don't have any of that stuff in here. I want you to get your foundation, right? Get your structural integrity of your speech in place. Get the elements of your intro drafted. Get your transition sentence drafted. Get the elements of your conclusion drafted. Then you could worry about filling in the meat and potatoes, if you will. And so I'm showing it all, right? And this is kind of fun. This is the 25th anniversary of my trip to see a baseball game in every major league stadium. So this is a very simple speech. Broke it down into 3 main points: St. Louis, New York, and Chicago. And so this is really, 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 really basic. And most people that are listening on LinkedIn or wherever you're tuning into this tip, you're going to have, more professional content to deliver in your audiences. But this is just a very simple speech to entertain. It's organized topically and categorically and spatially, geographically. And we're ultimately going to get into whether it's next week or the week after, we're going to remind people about a persuasive structure. We talked about it earlier in the year, right? Ways of organizing our thoughts. What's the problem or the issue or the significance of whatever we're talking about? What prevents people from doing something about that? And then what are the solutions that we propose? So that's a persuasive approach. And I structure all of my all-star interviews for the Integrity Game 90-Day Challenge that way. But I just wanted to show people that it's line items. I've got a single sentence per subordinating point. This makes it easy for me to add content if I need to add a D, or if I need to add a 3, or if I need to take out content, I can eliminate C and I can eliminate C without totally screwing up my whole topic, right? So if we can keep it simple and limit one idea, one thought per subordinating point on the outline, we're really going to see everything, all the ideas that we want to express, and then it helps us manipulate that content for the timing with which we need to fit our talk into, and then we can practice and practice and practice, and ultimately I can take this keyword Wrigley Field and put that onto my note card without having to put the whole sentence there. Is all I need to see here is Wrigley Field on my note card, and I'll remind myself of what I want to say so I can stay conversational and not have to memorize word for word, not to have to read my whole speech word for word. Once I get into the outline format first, right, then I'm going to be golden. Hey, I thought I had 100% on my light, but it just went out on me, and I'm not going to. Hey, that's a sign. That's a sign, Sue, that maybe we can wrap up a little early. But let's hear from you. Or I guess, unless you have any comments on what I was sharing there, is that helpful for me to share that?
Yeah, absolutely helpful. And what was coming to mind for me is tying some of the structure that we're talking about here, and you pulling that up on screen, back to some of the things that we've talked about as we've moved through this journey of reminding ourselves what is the purpose of our speech and what is the purpose of each of those sections. And what I was picturing in mind was, say, someone who is speaking to promote a product or selling from stage. And sometimes I think if people haven't done the work of preparation, nerves might get the better of them, and it's like, oh, I've done my bit, just get off stage. And yet, when we do this work, remind ourselves of the purpose of each, purpose overall, but purpose of every section. What are we working toward? How are we escorting our audience through? We keep that power of achieving what we want to achieve. And I was thinking of comments where people say, oh, but I don't get any sales. People aren't signing up for what I'm promoting or something like that. And it just stands out for me that is getting lost because they're not following this sort of structure. And so they're not giving their audience that opportunity to close it, as you were referring to earlier, close off in their mind. Oh, we're done with that bit. I can move on. And so, we'll talk more about call to actions and that sort of thing next week as we close out the extra 2 parts to the conclusion. But yeah, it's just standing out to me the power in doing the work, understanding the purpose that sits behind every little part of this, and you get a fabulous outcome, and you really start to see, what you've set out to achieve. And I just think it's the integration, the linking of all those elements that comes together.
Yeah. It's it all comes down to connecting with the audience and walking together through the content. Like I think your comment. And by the way, real quick, I just want to mention, I see some eyeballs rolling on the social media eyeball thing. And if you want to come on in and join us for the conversation, the link is right there, tinyurl.com/cluetip38. Not a Q-tip, something that you put in your ear, but hopefully we have better stuff to put into your ear, which all of this content and dialogue and discussion. Excuse me. But if you want to come in and say hello, and we're going to get into last call, but we'll stay on for a couple more minutes. If anybody out there wants to jump in and ask some questions or offer some perspectives, or, I'm not the only person that teaches public speaking or has tips for public speaking in this world, right? So if you think you've got a contribution, hey, everybody's welcome to join the party. Let me just go ahead and mention that real quick. But I've got to, the other thing I want to mention is, Sue, even if it's on a Zoom,
yeah,
and even if there's less than 12 people on the Zoom with you, and if that Zoom's being recorded, is going to be available to future viewers, it's public speaking, right?
Correct.
So you have a public speaking engagement coming up in less than a week, don't you? You want to tell us about that?
I do, and I am very much looking forward to being part of the All-Star sessions coming up this week, talking about potential. And it's the 12-year anniversary, as Facebook tends to do, is brings up the memories. And so it's been coming up on my feed now for when I did it 12 months ago. And I'm like, yay, that time has come again. So I'm very much looking forward to being part of the session, sharing the panel with Debbie, who is also a licensed integrity coach. So it should be, really fun conversation.
When people go to the integritygame.com/Sue, I would like the opportunity to show people that this is what you're going to see. So reserve your seat for the next All-Star session. It's Wednesday, September 25th, coming up at 4 p.m. Pacific. It's totally free to attend an All-Star session live. And here's a little video of me talking about the integrity game and the 90-day challenge. And there's Sue, right? And here's Debbie, and about All-Star sessions and what is the integrity game. And it's free to join us for that conversation. But I'm going to be interviewing yourself, Sue, and Debbie about potential and how it breaks down into vision, mission, and objectives, and some psycho emo things that we want to address about potential, and then we want to make it actionable for people to not fail to live up to their potential. Most people fail to live up to their potential because they've never declared what their potential is. You will always fail to live up to your potential if you haven't declared what your potential is, right? So we want to make everything easier for people, and it's time to go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and do it in the couple minutes that we've got, if you don't mind, Sue. I am so excited about this. Let me see if I can access it really quick. Well, first of all, let me show this. Here's the lineup of All-Stars that I'm going to be interviewing. So earlier this week, we talked with Sloan, and 2 weeks ago, Aaron and Lori. And so here you go on September 25th. And so there's a whole lineup. And the same way we took the 10 points on the integrity game model and we made them the first 10 tips of Get a Clue in 52 for speakers. We've got the 10 points right here that we're going to have fantastic conversations with subject matter experts that can bring more depth, more insight, more perspective than I can alone. I enjoy what I do, but I'm not the only one that does what I do. And so I like learning with and from others and making it more. And the purpose of these all-star sessions is to make it easier for those of you out there that want to play the integrity game to play the integrity game. Because the integrity game is easy to understand, but it's difficult to play because it involves answering some tough questions. And we want to make it easier to answer those questions. Now, speaking of, you could talk to or ask a question or add to this if you want, but I'm going to go ahead and show people where we're at with the 90-day challenge. So the 90-day challenge, can you see my screen right now? Sue, can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right.
Come on.
So where we are is we're at the membership site for the integrity game, and the integrity game is coming along, right? Are you ready to join the arena? So people can join for free and get a bunch of freebies. We have a subscription level, and the 90-day challenge the full course sits in the subscription level. You can buy it on its own, or you can subscribe for much less and get all of these other things too. But when you come to the arena, this is what it'll look like. And then the membership site, you go to click take course. And now all of my courses are in here, and we're adding more and more and more to these courses. But I just want people to see what's going on. So you get to the 90-day challenge right here. And it comes with 2 one-on-one sessions with an integrity game certified coach, access to our private Facebook group. You download fillable, like fill in the blank workbooks so that you can take notes on all of the sessions that are sitting in here for everybody. We're giving this year's new. We're giving everybody a free set of behavioral assessments, a DISC and a motivators assessment. Of course, everybody's going to get their own digital PDF of the integrity game itself. And then what we can see here, look, volume 3, they're already loaded. So here's the overview session that I did 2 weeks ago. Here's the purpose week that I did a week and a half ago. And here's gifts week. It's already loaded, right? So we're starting to build volume 3, but volume 1 is totally complete. All of the sessions are in there from volume 1. And you mentioned, Sue, that your memories come up in Facebook. And so you were featured all-star in Potential Week, right? Oh, wait, no, that's volume 1. It's volume 2.
Yeah, volume 2.
Okay, so you can see I still got to change the images and add more detail about who my guests were in volume 2. But it's exciting to build all of this content into the arena. So the integrity game sits in the arena. It sits in the subscription level that we call we've got general admission for free, and we've got the season pass. And so it's just fun for me to surf around and show everybody. Here's the 90-day challenge where you would access it. And here's the confident communicator where you would access it. And so you have access, if you get the season pass, to all. Here's 8 steps to fearless public speaking, right? Which you and I covered, right? In tip form. We're still in the middle, right? Actually, we're in the middle of elements, forms, and functions. But my point is, there's gold. Yeah. I just think it's just gold. It's so fun. And we're going to continue to build value and add content, and even the silly stuff, the Kluby snacks and the flyby coaching, and how to be a confident candidate, and how to avoid hiring mistakes if you're an employer, and smart goal setting, which is a really key point on the integrity game model. And I can keep going and going and going. I just want people to see how good all of this looks. But we're asking for you to pay for the 90-day challenge, or we're asking you to subscribe to our content, but you can get into the arena for free and get previews to everything that we're talking about. So you can get downloads for all of the books that I've written, including Get a Clue in 52 for speakers. You can, let's take a look at that. Let's see what that looks like, Sue. Why don't we? I'm here. Why not have some fun with it?
Yeah.
Right. So when we go to general admission, and I hope I'm not going too fast, we go to general admission. And now, look, this is the general admission. And so everybody, anything that you do with the integrity game, everything starts with 2 complimentary sessions, one-on-one with an integrity game certified coach. People think online courses, e-courses, and learn on your own. You're on your own to click and consume. But everything that we do comes with live one-on-ones with integrity game certified coaching. So nobody's alone when you're going through our online content. But here we go, right? PDFs of Klubeck's books. Well, guess what? I see a future, not too distant future, where anybody that the integrity game endorses or partners with or is an affiliate for or with, all of my all-stars, any of them that have written books, give me the PDF and you could be right here in our little learning library. So I don't have to be the only author listed here. We could put the profiles of other authors and list all of their books in the learning library here. But that looks really cool. I mean, you can imagine how proud I am of the integrity game and all 4 editions of Get a Klu in 52, including our version right here. There we are, Sue. Hey, right? Yeah. Very simple to download, right? So, but that's not all, right? Now, here's a preview of the 90-day challenge. So here's the overview week from this year. Here's a specific all-star session from last year. Here's the celebration week from year 1, and here's where people can transition and get out of general admission into the full 90-day challenge if they want. A preview the confident communicator, preview bring out your brand workshop, preview the goal setting workshop, preview flyby coaching videos, super fun. This looks fun too, right? Like, let's talk about procrastination, and I love this. Like, watch your wisdom take off with flyby coaching. I made that up, Sue, and I think it's awfully cute. But what else do we have in here? All of this is free content, you guys. So understand, like, we're gonna put previews. So this recording that we're making right now, this is the 5th year in a row that I've been doing tip readings every single week. So we're gonna put a sample for the tip readings that we've done for all of these editions, all 4 of these. We're gonna put samples to them in here so that people may want to have access to the full library. So that'll be in the subscription level. Even Kluby Snack videos, right? You can preview. There's a handful of little handful of Kluby Snack videos, and it's bite-sized and delicious motivation in Kluby Snacks. And then I've been on about 40, maybe 50 podcasts in the last 3 years. And so ultimately the podcast library is going to have the image and the link to all of the podcasts I've been on. But guess what? All of the all-stars that I've interviewed, all of the people that I do business with, all of my, my network and people I endorse or people I stand by, people that I would refer without batting an eye, they're welcome to put their podcast links in here. You're welcome. Like, this is an area, general admission, where everybody's welcome to play in the arena. The arena is where, if you think about sports and athletics, the arena is the fans, it's the players, it's the trainers, it's the coaches, it's media, it's announcers, it's vendors, it's everybody. Come on down to the arena. And this is where I want to assemble and aggregate all of my personal and professional growth content. We've got something for everybody, right? And these 2 levels are for people that want to embrace the integrity game for themselves or their businesses to get structural integrity and retrofit and build and grow and scale. And then we're building out our locker room level. That's for aspiring and emerging coaches, authors, speakers, trainers that want to do what I'm doing, right? But want to get to the front of the line or speed things up or avoid mistakes that I've made or get access to my soft skill library or my coaching and speaker training or group mentoring. Oh boy, is that going to be robust when we get over 100 recordings of group mentoring around coaching and leadership training. And then ultimately, there are people that want to become integrity game certified coaches, integrity game certified speakers, integrity game certified trainers. And you could pay us thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars up front and get access to everything. Or you can subscribe and do a drip, right? And make it more manageable. But we want everybody to play, right? That's what we want. We want everybody playing the integrity game. And Sue, that was like a big digression. But I mean, it comes back it comes back to, I can't wait for your interview, your all-star session next week with Debbie. And you can tell how excited I am about how far that we've come and trying to package all of my content and create a playground freedom within all of these frameworks, like you said earlier. But I want everybody to come and play. I'm not talking about the integrity game every week because I'm the expert on integrity. I'm talking about integrity all the time because I want more in my own life. I want more in my own business. So in my quest to retrofit myself and keep myself upright so that I could do what I was made to do, built to do, I'm just inviting the world to play with me, all vulnerability and all. So here we are,
what
Sue.
a fun place to play.
Yeah, well, we've made it. Are you ready? Drum roll, please. Last call. You ready for comments, questions, jokes, riddles, haikus, limericks, expressions of gratitude? What do you got, Sue, to wrap us up and take us home?
Gratitude for the opportunity of being with you every week, reading a tip. It's been a fabulous experience for me, and I have thoroughly enjoyed it. But also to be part of the broader journey with you, to see what you've just been sharing with the arena, the 90-day challenge, part of the integrity game ecosystem. It's just been wonderful. I have learned so much. I've grown so much. I love it. And I'm probably not as excited. I would probably struggle to reach your level of excitement because I'm not the founder of it, but I'm pretty close.
Yeah. Like maybe not founder, but like founding player or whatever the term is. But you're an integrity game certified coach. You've been on the journey with me for a while. You've seen all of this evolve. So, I mean, there's a couple of other people that have been following me for a while, but it would be hard to find anybody on the planet that is as big of a fan and that is as knowledgeable about what I'm doing as you are, Sue. So the gratitude is reciprocal. And I'm probably, in many ways, maybe not always, but in many ways, more grateful than you are. If I'm more excited than you are, then I'm more grateful than you are. It means the world to me that you're here every week and that you're as big of a fan, and that more than anything else, what I love most, Sue, is there was a while there where you were just consuming.
Yeah.
You follow? Now what I love is that you're getting complimented on how all of this is coming out of you. Other people are seeing it on and in and out of you. So you're not just consuming anymore, you're producing, and it's coming through you too, right? Yeah. That's what makes me, and there's other people that I'm like, I've coached. It's like, you know what? I don't think you need to learn anything else. I mean, it's great if you do, it's fine. You never stop learning, but you don't need to learn. What you need to do is get out and implement what you've learned. You need to be vulnerable and put yourself out there and go, right? Yeah. There's a lot of people in our personal professional growth space, and they're trying to market themselves by showing up as learners everywhere. And then, hey, I'll show up as a learner, and then from the place of learning, I'll let all the other learners, and maybe I'll just siphon off. I've seen it before, right? I was at a 3-day event earlier in the week, and somebody was at the event, but like the person hosting the event has an offer for everybody at the event. And some people are there because they don't care about the offer at all. They just want to be there at the event and market themselves using somebody else's effort to put an event together. Right. You know what I'm getting at? Right?
Yes.
So I don't want to digress too much, but you are doing it. You're getting out there. You're organizing your talks. You're communicating the content. You're getting complimented on your knowledge. You're recognizing how knowledgeable you are. You're getting more fearless in your own practice. Am I making this up, or is it true?
No, it's true. It's true. But that's what the integrity game framework has given me. It's given me that construct to pull all of that together in a way that works. It makes sense. I can work with it. I can keep improving on the areas that I might see have that potential, which I'll be talking about during the week. But so you can take it down to a more granular level, put a light on that, and go, I'm going to put energy and effort into that for a period of time. And so it keeps elevating everything you do. And that's what I've noticed. And that's one of the biggest things that I love about the integrity game framework.
Yeah, there's have you heard about hockey stick growth? Where like the growth is like this, and then it hockey sticks, if you will. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? Well, it feels like you're having kind of a hockey stick year this year. Do you know what I'm saying?
There's a sense of there's a bit of a real breakthrough coming, and it's like, stay the course, just keep going, you're getting there.
Yeah, and the breakthrough isn't like learning, like, oh, aha. It's not that, is it? It's the doing.
It's the doing.
Yeah.
It's the implementation.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. All right, last call. Comments, questions, jokes, anything other than gratitude, or do you feel complete for this week?
No, that's it. That's it from me today.
All right. Well, I want you to have a great weekend. I know it's already started for you. It's Friday for me, Saturday for you, all the way down under to Melbourne, Australia. And Wednesday's going to be here, in a heartbeat. All right. Everything's going so fast now. I just, I can't wait for that session. I've just fallen in love. It used to be for all my life, my favorite time of year were the 30 days before my birthday and the 30 days after. And it may be still true that that's just a magical, energetic time of the year for me. All kinds of crazy, unexplainable stuff, wonderful things happen. That 60-day period, the 30 days before my birthday and the 30 days after. But now I'm in my third year of doing all-star sessions during 90-day challenge season. Have you noticed I'm calling it, hey, it's 90-day challenge season? Because the 90-day challenge is evergreen. As I was just showing people, it's evergreen. It's not like day one, day two, right? We only call it 90-day challenge because that's what it originally took me to build it. But now it's evergreen. But every year coming out of summer, the first week of September after Labor Day, it's 90-day challenge season. So, I'm on point. I am, having integrity around my disciplines in my practice. I don't know, like, can you tell I've shaved a couple of pounds? I'm not touching alcohol. I'm doing my exercises. I'm watching my diet. Like, I am in full vibration of structural integrity. It's not like summer, like vacation, like let yourself go or lose discipline. Like right now, I'm on the balls of my feet. I'm leaning forward into everything that I'm doing. So there's this really beautiful energy that swirls in the fall season now, but I don't call it fall anymore. It's 90-day challenge season. So it's a treat. It's a treat to be in the latter part of this journey with you during 90-day challenge season, because we started the year with the 10 tips of the integrity game, and now we're going to end the year, or we're going to move towards the end of the year during 90-day challenge season. So it's exciting all the way around. And I just, again, I'm grateful and excited and all of that. So if there's nothing else for today, let's get our weekend started, and Wednesday will be here before we know it.
Yeah, sounds really good.
All right, Sue.
Yeah, have a fantastic weekend.
All right. Yeah, you too, Sue. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
All right.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.